We live in an age where memory has been outsourced to machines, and nostalgia is no longer personal. It's algorithmic. It's baked into the design of our digital interfaces, repurposed as a default aesthetic that feels comforting, trustworthy even. UI UX designers don't just want your attention, they want your trust fast. And so we see film grain textures in flat design apps, CRT screen scans on mobile menace, all performative fakes, designed to trigger the illusion of authenticity. Is that these references aren't about remembering, they're about manipulating. When we see a CRT screen effect or a grain overlay, it's not to honor the past, but to make something new feel familiar before the user has time to question its function. It's a shortcut for trust, built on the assumption that if you look enough like what came before, people will forget they're using something brand new. Consider the language of design. A vintage filter isn't just a visual choice. It's an emotional shortcut designed to make data consumption feel warm and human. But this warmth is synthetic, a veneer placed over systems that profit from our distraction. The past becomes product packaging, not personal memory. Nostalgia is the branding of experience itself.
Authenticity anchors design in meaning, while aesthetics elevate its impact. And true mastery lies in harmonizing the soul of an idea with the visual language that makes it.
What if nostalgia isn't about memory at all, but a language of control? Take that weathered wood grain on your phone case, or that retro filter you use for every selfie. These aren't just aesthetics. They're carefully chosen cues to make the past feel familiar and therefore trustworthy. But what's being made trustworthy is not history itself. It's the product trying to sell you something. When Barthes wrote about the photograph as having been there, he didn't imagine that decades later, the past is not just re-presented, it's re-scripted. Designers erase the messy, personal details, the punctum. That might make us question why this image exists or what it's trying to sell us. Barthes called that jarring detail which pierces us the punctum in product nostalgia. That punctum is removed until all we're left with are hollow symbols of memory. A worn leather texture here, a vintage font there, nothing that might make you ask why this? Why now?
We have a new human being, and that's Chris Potter of Memetics Corporation, a new synthesizer, the Yamaha DX100, and a new computer, the Commodore Amiga.
The mid-20th century is a gold mine for product designers, not because it was authentic, but because it was simple to imitate. A sleek armchair from the 50s, a Polaroid camera shell, a vinyl record. These are not artifacts of history. They're blueprints for aesthetics that employ craft while being entirely algorithmic in origin. The tools used today: AA, generated fonts, mass-produced in factories we don't see. The point is to borrow the warm light of yesteryear and sell it as a brand experience. While the archival speaker praises modern packaging for its clean lines and appealing colors, we're meant to overlook how these styles are not new. They're recycled from the mid-century era, warmed up with brown tones, distressed edges, and muted palettes. This is a feedback loop of nostalgia. What was once authentic becomes trendy, copied until it's generic, then sold back to us as real. It's like fashion, but for brand identities, always returning, never arriving. This nostalgia cycle isn't just visual, it's ideological. It softens the violent edges of technological acceleration by wrapping it in warm, brown packagings. Think about a modern smart speaker designed to look like a mid-century radio or an app with a retro color scheme. These choices are deliberate. They slow us down, make progress feel safe, and keep us emotionally invested in systems that profit from our distraction. The past is not preserved here, it's weaponized.
Modern packaging does more than wrap and hold and conceal. Stunning in color, ingenious in design.
AI video generators are now crafting personalized nostalgia, memories of events that never happened, faces you've never seen, all stitched together from cultural signifiers we find familiar. These synthetic recollections follow the visual grammar of childhood photos and home movies, making them convincing not in truth, but in feelings. The past no longer needs to be real. It just needs to feel warm enough to pull us back into a system that profits from our comfort. As we lose the ability to distinguish between what happened and what was made for us, design becomes a form of emotional scaffoldings. Products no longer serve function. They maintain psychological equilibrium by feeding comfort and confusion in equal measures. The past is curated not to educate, but to pacify, keeping us suspended in an emotionally familiar space that resists change or critical thought. The final irony of this system is that the more we are fed a manufactured past, the less capable we become of imagining an honest future. The design language of nostalgia doesn't just anchor us, it cages our ability to think forward with clarity or ambition. In repackaging memory as product, we lose not only history, but the tools needed to build something new from it.